Top of one ladies, my name is Chazz, and welcome to the What If, or should I say, welcome back to Custom Card Reviews. Sorry, I just got mixed up with the intros. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the What If. Or Custom Card Review. Yeah. I will go over the monsters first, then spells, then traps. Because, yeah. So, let's jump right into the... Okay. So, let's start with myself. Yes, this archetype has me in it. So, yeah. Let's begin. My effect... So, basically, I'm a light person. Usually 4 stars. Usually it would be 4 likes, but that's okay. Spellcaster, effect monster. When I'm summoned, I give a boost the attacks of everyone. All other monsters that I control. So, yeah. Of 300 until the end phase. And once per turn, you can negate one card, you can negate the effects of an opponent's card effect that targets a monster you control. This card can attack. Basically, I can attack all of the monsters on. Yeah. So, stuff like that is just super weird. So, and then if I was sent to the grave, then it has quick effect at basically you can shovel this card into the deck, special summon one monster from either player's graveyards or hands to the field in attack mode. Its effects are negated until, stuff like that. So, yeah. Then we got, I'm just joking. It's called, chemical, basically, arcana thing. So, yeah. So now, Zuko, yeah. So then, let's continue with another monster of this archetype. Moki Cheerleader. She's a wind, level 3, fairy effect monster, where she basically, when she's on a field, all monsters you control gain 1,000 attack for each A.M.C.G. And basically cards you control. If this card is sent to the graveyard or banished, you can draw 2 cards, and then special summon this card into your field in defense mode. You take no damage evolving this card. So basically, if you summon her and she's on the field, she also gains 1,000 attack, and because she's also part of this archetype. So, let me fix my watch real quick, and yeah. Now, we are moving on to the Moon Lord's daughter of the A.M.C.G. She's a light level 4 fairy effect monster where she's basically is always treated as a princess of A.M.C.G. monster on the field. And if this card is normal summon or special summon, you can select one card from your deck and add it to your hand. This card's effects cannot be changed by opponent's card effects. So basically, if you activated or if you summon her and use her effect, your opponent can't Ash Blossom you when during the chain. Like, I chained this card to it. Yeah. So, and if you have her father on the field, like Moon Lord of the A.M.C.G. monster on the field, while this card is on your field, you can shuffle one card from your graveyard or banish zone into your deck. Makes this card attack your opponent's life points directly. If it does, then your opponent must discard 3 cards from the top of their deck to the graveyard. You can only use each effect of this card for once per turn. So there is some lore behind the if she or if her father and her are on the field. She is safe from your opponent and stuff like that. So yeah, now we move on to her father. Moon Lord of the A.M.C.G. He's a light level 8 spellcaster effect monster where I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, level 8 spellcaster effect monster where it cannot be normal summon or set. Must be special summoned by requiring 3 tributes to be summoned onto the field. And this card's effects cannot be negated by card effects and if this card is so basically it has the sorry. If this it has the Egyptian cards' effects. But if this card was summoned by a card effect, during the end phase, you can, of the turn, this card gets shuffled back into the deck. And then once per turn, effect, when he's out on the field, he can basically select one monster on the field except this card. The selected monster's effects are negated until the end of the turn. And also its attack points gets set to 0. So basically your opponent can't do nothing to him. And then until the end phase, and then this card cannot be targeted by card effects or by battle. And this card cannot be tributed by monsters unless it's for the part of this archetype. And here's the instant win effect. Basically, what it means is if this card battles against a dark monster, you win the duel. Like, basically, yeah. If this card destroys a dark monster and it is sent to the graveyard or banished, you win the duel. You can only use each effect of this card once per duel. So yeah, then this is a light version, and I made a dark version that is worded kind of weird, but that's okay. So he's called Regret of the Dark King. He's a dark level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Level 8 Fiend effect monster. You can banish one wrong, the Mad King of Dark World, from your hand or deck to special summon this card to your opponent's field. When this card is special summoned, the controller, that's your opponent, must discard the top 2 cards of their deck. So basically, yeah, and then discard, yeah, hold on. It basically burns your opponent or gets rid of their resources stuff. And this card gains the effects of the Bron King or Mad King of Dark World's effects, and until this it leaves the field. And if this card is destroyed, by battle, or if this card is destroyed, banish the Mad King of Dark World to the to return this card to the owner's hand and all that stuff, and it's like the cycle of life. And if if your opponent has no cards in their deck, then when this card is summoned, it is destroyed, and they take 4,000 damage to your opponent instant. So like, yeah. So this card's effect, or so basically this card cannot be used for anything, and you can only use each effects of this card once per turn. So, yeah. So basically, there's some lore behind it. So basically, he banishes this Mad King of Dark World, and then yeah. So, sorry if I talked so fast. And there's only one other monster, Shadow Brawler of the Light. She's a light level 8 warrior fusion effect monster, where she needs requirements of 1 A.M.C.G monster and 1 or more monsters. This card must be fusion summoned by there's a fusion spell card. And if this card is summoned, you can shuffle all of your banished monsters into the deck. Inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to this card's attack points. So like you're making a first turn kill type. Like you can use it and all that stuff. And if your opponent, or if you do, then your opponent banishes a top card of their deck to the banish zone, and I know that you can't see it. This card can attack all of your opponent's monsters per battle phase. And this card is unaffected by your opponent's card effect, so you don't need to worry about the, like, oh, I activate this card or activate that card. So, but if she's sent to the graveyard or banished zone, or banished, you can pay 100 life points, special summon her to your field, but its attack points become 0 until the end phase of this turn, of your next turn. And it cannot be, then it goes back to normal attack points. You can only use each effect for once per turn. So basically, like if she got destroyed, then she comes right back. Yeah, so now we're on to the spell cards. I'm doing this a little bit faster than normal, so yeah. So let's do the absorption of the A.M.C.G. So you can pay 2,000 life points to shuffle all cards from both players' bounty zones and or graveyards into the deck. And then both players take 500 damage for each shuffled cards from their decks by this effect. But during the end phase of the turn, both players cannot declare any attack or until the end phase. Yeah. Because it's balanced, because you basically activate this card. You don't get a battle phase. And because you already did the damage, so yeah. Now we move on to the box of the A.M.C.G. And its effect is you can select one monster from either player's bounty zones to be special summoned to your field in the defense mode, but its effects are negated until the end of the turn. Once per turn during the end phase, you can't, or your opponent must discard one card from the top of their deck to the banish zone. So hold on. Sorry, I'm wiping my eye real quick. And then special summon one A.M.C.G. Soul's token to your opponent's shield in the defense mode. And also, they cannot be used for anything else. So basically, your opponent can't use XYZ or Link or anything like that on them. So they're like basically, yeah, and also they cannot be, yeah. So, and you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So yeah. And now the spell card squad of the A.M.C.G. And it's a spell card where you have to, like, basically tribute a monster on your field to the graveyard, and then you select a monster, like, basically type that would be Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Link from your extra deck, and to be special summoned that type to your field in attack mode. During the end phase, they get banished instead. their effects are negated until the end phase. And then this card, or then you gain life points equal to the combined attack points. Or their combined attack points. So basically, like if you select links, then you're basically getting a free link from your opponent by attributing one of your monsters to summon like a lot of link monsters. And then now we're moving on to trap cards where, yeah. Oh, I forgot to. There's two other ones. The Sword of the Ancient, where this card has to be equipped to, a A.M.C.G sword, or a monster on the field, and it gains 1,000 attack and depends, and it has this effect of this card cannot be targeted by card effects or bad battle, and if this card is sent to graveyard or banished, you can shuffle this card and one other A.M.C.G card into your deck, special summon one Moon Lord of the A.M.C.G monster from your deck or hand to your field in attack mode, ignoring its summoning conditions of it. So basically, this card is the only one that brings out the Moon Lord, but it's balanced because the Moon Lord will basically get shuffled back into the deck at the end phase. And then we got the Shield, and it's basically, well, this card is activated. All monsters you control cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects, and if a monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can pay 500 life points to add a specific monsters from your deck to your hand. And if this card's effects get negated by your opponent's card effects and sent to the graveyard or banished, quick effect, you can shuffle this card into the deck, skip your opponent's 2 turns. So yeah, now we're moving on to the trap cards. First trap card that I made for this archetype is called A.M.C.G Paths of Choice. It's a trap card, counter trap, where this card can only be activated if your opponent declares an attack or activates a card effect. Your opponent must choose one of these effects for once per turn. So basically, negate the attack or effect. Both players draw or must banish one card from the top of their deck to the banish zone. Or number 3 would be all of the above. And if they don't choose, then they take 2,000 damage to their life points. So yeah. This card is, the artwork represents like the player, like your opponent, has to choose either be like negating, that would be a red door. The blue door would be that both players draw or banishes one card. And then third is like poke it in the eye, would be do all 3. But if they don't, they just like let's say they walk out, they basically take 2,000 points of damage. So then we got the shield of the A.M.C.G. And don't be confused. This is like yeah. And this card can only be activated if your opponent declares an attack or activates a card effect. You can pay 1,000 life points and negate it, and then banish it to the banish zone. If you do, then draw 3 cards from the top of your deck. If you take damage from battles, well, this card is in your banish zone or graveyard, you can shovel this card into the deck. The damage that you take becomes your opponent's instead. So basically, it's like the Uno reverse card. Like, oh, you think you're going to stab me with a sword and I take damage? Well, I have this card, then I switch it. Boom. Your opponent. Yeah. So then the final trap card of this archetype is called Trapped of the A.M.C.G. It's a counter trap where this card can only be activated if your opponent activates a card effect. You can pay 100 life points, negate that card effect, and then banish it to the banish zone. But now, so it has 2 effects. Depends on where it is. If your opponent declares an attack while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, negate that attack, and then your opponent takes the damage equal to that attacking monster's attack points. So, like, if your opponent has 8,000 attack point monster on the field, was about to attack into you, you activate this card. So your opponent would instantly lose the duel. So I give this archetype a 4 out of 10. Because it doesn't have more of a modern deck, basically. It doesn't have, or it does have the cards, but I forgot to take a screenshot. There's like the one that requires the monster, or it requires, or it doesn't need a fusion, or no, it doesn't need a fusion spell card, but it requires like different types. So these cards are on Dueling Book, so you go check them out. And peace out, Cub Scouts, and have a good night or day. Depends on the time zones. Peace.